Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on a Sunday evening, the day after the day before Tommy Robinson rally, which I very much enjoyed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a few guests on and we're going to talk about yesterday, what we got from it, thoughts of the day type thing, and how we move forward after yesterday. So I'll bring everybody in. We'll say hi to everybody and we will go from there. So Ruben, nice to see you again, mate.
Nice to see you, Mark.
And Connie.
Hi, both.
Hiya.
Hi, Connie.
And then a new face is Laura. How you doing, Laura?
Hi, nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet
Hi,
you
Laura.
too.
Good to meet you.
I'm just going to send an invite out. I think Ricky wants to join the conversation as well, which is good. So I'm going to be sending him a invite. So Ruben, if you could go first, and then Connie, and then Laura, that'll give me enough time. So if you could just say who you are again, just in case nobody knows who you are. I know Ruben and Connie have been on before. Laura's new to my channel. So if you just say who you are, and if you could just give a brief outline of yesterday. Did you go? Did you watch it? And your first initial thoughts, and then I'll be back with you in a second.
Yeah, no problem at all. So I am Ruben. I live out in Midwest Wales, and I'm a husband, father, concerned citizen. And yes, I was there yesterday. Enjoyed it thoroughly. It was great to be with fellow Patriots and to meet a few new faces. It was brilliant day.
Hi, everyone. I'm Connie. I'm from Birmingham. Married, very concerned for my children's future. I went yesterday and my legs are still aching, but I loved every minute of it.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura. I live in London. I'm a legal advocate. I'm also the interim secretary of the London Barnet Reform Group. We've been out canvassing and campaigning. I didn't get to go to the rally. I did watch Adam Brooks, Essex PR, his take on it. I'm also concerned. I also feel like every member of the right of this country, no matter who you support, we need to stand together because things are not good and we are being discriminated against, and it's something has to happen legally and lawfully, but something has to happen. Yeah,
you're quite right. Okay, so Ricky should be with us shortly. As this is happening live, if you want to send a message in, if you want to ask a question to any of us, I mean, we can throw it to the floor anyway. We'll do our best to answer. Nobody has all the answers all of the time, but we can certainly start some kind of debate as we move through this podcast, especially when we get to next steps and things like that. So if you've got something you want to say, I can read that out for you. That's not a problem. And if you would like to ask a question, I can do that for you too. I'm just going to bring Ricky to the stage. Ricky, nice to see you again, mate.
Hiya. All right,
Hi,
yeah. Oh, you're all right. Yeah, not
Ricky.
too bad, job.
Ricky, you met two of them, but you haven't met Laura.
Yeah. No.
Laura's
nice
joining us.
Oh, you're all right.
Yeah.
Okay, the rest have just give a brief outline of who they are, where they come from in the UK. Can you just do the same? I know you've done it before, but there might be people listening now live, especially that will want to know. And also, can you just tell us whether you went yesterday? Did you watch it on TV, online? It weren't on TV, was it? Online. And your first initial thoughts from it.
Yeah, sure. My name's Ricky, and I'm from a little fishing town on the south coast. And yeah, I did go yesterday, and it's the fourth one I've been to so far, and it's just been immense. Every single one has been immense. The only thing I would say about yesterday, the numbers felt a little low. Well, I was expecting big numbers yesterday, so that's probably partially my fault, but the numbers just felt a bit low. But the enthusiasm and the camaraderie didn't favour. It was all there. It was all there. It was just lovely to feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Numbers wise, have you been to any of these rallies before?
Me, yeah. It's the fourth one I've been to.
So you say numbers were low. How do they compare to previous?
Well, the only one I can describe it to is Trafalgar Square. The one at Trafalgar Square felt really big, and it looked really. Whether or not that was because of where it was at Trafalgar Square, and it's a big area. But I just remember standing near the stage, and I was looking at the stage, and I was standing around with all the other people I was with, and I turned round, and there was just a sea of people. Now, whether that's because it was an open area and there was more people spread out, and like it was yesterday, it was more sort of down a main street, if you see what I mean. So you're kind of kettled in, if you see what I mean. So I don't know whether it was the area or what, but it just yesterday just felt a little low on numbers compared to Trafalgar Square, I'd say. I think Trafalgar Square was the biggest one I've been to all last year, actually. Or it felt bigger anyway.
Ruben, you're nodding away there. Have you been to previous then?
Yeah, I've been to three of the last 4, and I think Ricky's probably right. I think Trafalgar Square was very sizable, and it did feel. It was hard to sort of tell because of the route yesterday. It was hard to tell a little bit, but I think largely, I mean, Patriots, come on, we got to muscle up a bit. If it was the weather, then please get along. Please get along.
I had shorts on yesterday.
Yeah, well, it was freezing. It was freezing.
I didn't think
I
it was
know a lot of people
actually.
did thin out. A little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry. Connie, what did you say then? You said I don't think anybody.
I didn't think it was that cold yesterday. I was okay.
Yeah, well, I was in short sleeves, as Ruben knows. They kept asking me if I'm cold. I'm like, it's all in the mind, guys. It's all in the mind.
Well, they got to build them like Mark and Connie. Then that's all I can say.
Lukey's said evening to everybody. So evening, Lukey, and thanks for joining us. So just going back to numbers though, Ricky. People have been talking online, and obviously the left have been dissing it and saying that they had more numbers, etc. I know that's not true at all. I think they were in the hundreds. We were definitely in the thousands. People were saying 100,000. I don't think we were quite at 100,000, but I do think we was around 25,000, something like that, from what I could see. So there has definitely been bigger marches, and the thing to take from that is if we're going to continue this momentum and continue this movement, we need bigger numbers than that. Yeah, we definitely need bigger numbers than that. I thought, like Ricky says, there'll be a lot more people there.
Just solely because of what's gone on, what's happened, recently with everything, the court cases and all the rest of it. That's just way I thought, and especially what's happened in America as well with Trump getting in. I stupidly, obviously, I thought there'd be a little bit more numbers there than what it was yesterday.
I would have thought, actually, I was a bit surprised that Urban Scoop didn't get someone to do more publicity on X. In Tommy's Place kind of thing, somebody like Danny Roscoe or Liam Tufts.
But as with all these things, it's hard to, because it's not ticketed, so you can't really gauge how many people are there anyway. So it's all guesstimate and eyesight and feeling half the time, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I must admit, for me, I thought it was, and it's simply because of where we were. I think because we're, especially at the start, we're on that T, which is the most ridiculous place to put to start a march off. Everybody was getting kettled in at that point, and I know you've probably seen the video that's been going around of Richard Inman talking to the police officer, and the police officer is basically saying, "Look, if you don't get your boys to back off, we're going to start arresting people." And obviously, Richard took homage to that, and he was like, "What are you talking about? You start doing that, you're going to have a riot on your hands." So, with regards to the positioning of it, Ruben, it could have been worked a lot better than what it was. Do you think?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't know what the background was as to how they agreed on that point. It was probably the only place that the police offered, I imagine. But it was really unfortunate because you ended up with people on two sides of the road trying to, join one another. and obviously the only option that the stewards had was to push everyone back further down the side road by the Wellington. And it felt a little bit iffy for a while. I think, it could have flared up slightly, and thank God. And, big up to everyone involved that it just remained peaceful throughout. It's a real testament to the spirit of people there. And I think we do in terms of numbers. We do need to come back to what Laura said at the beginning. We need unity on on an impressive scale now, really, in many ways. I think that's the issue. And if we can get that, however we get that, that's how the momentum will continue, you know, because we don't want, I was aware the team really struggled to keep everything, you know, running smoothly yesterday, it looked to me. And I think, you know, they've got to be tired after a whole bunch of these, you know, so they're going to need the momentum as much as anything to move into a different level, you know. Yeah.
Well,
I think you need to bring in the farmers as well.
Yeah.
You know, bring in everyone.
Well, there was
bring them to a standstill. That's what you need to do.
There was some people handing out leaflets yesterday, and it was basically, they said it was for the football boys to march for the children of the UK. I think it was. They were handing leaflets out. They're going to have a march. I can't remember where it was, and I don't know where my leaflet is. Otherwise, I would have been able to. But there was people handing out leaflets saying that the football boys, the guys that go to the football are going to march for the kids of the UK. Now, that's what we need. Is we need the football boys joining this movement. We need the farmers, as Connie says, joining this movement, and we all need to come together as one, so that, you know, and that's the only way we're going to really move this forward.
The problem you've got, Mark, sorry to jump in, is that what Labour have been brilliant at doing, and probably Conservative for that matter, is this divide and conquer. And people are so set into their groups now of like, oh, I won't follow reform because somebody said something on a day that I don't agree with. What you're doing there is you are just going to help Labour to keep dividing the country. What we have to do is we have to say, what's our agenda? Our agenda is that we do not like this omnipotent government power that has to be looked at. The rules have got to change. That they get in and they can do basically whatever they want. Our only recourse under public law is that we can either protest, we can petition, but now look, see what happened yesterday is that this was an organised event and they've put you in a position where you feel a bit iffy, you've been sidelined, you're on two sides of the road. That was all purposeful. That's all purposeful. It's all mind control. And I would imagine that a lot of people don't attend these events because they just don't want to end up in a situation where they feel aggravated, and B, where they are being sidelined, because it demeans the whole point of the protest. The other point is that what we have to do is we have to say, you lot are all very pro whatever it is on the right, we're very pro whatever, but we're all on the right. We all want change. We all want this country restored to where it should be. And we all want a modicum of sanity to prevail. And the judicial system, and I'm saying this as a legal person, that needs reviewing critically, because I'm reading through some of the judgments that have been pronounced, and we've got a real basic misunderstanding of what's going on here. There are people that are being locked away for saying bad things on social media, and some of the things that were said were bad. They were being told to call to arms. They were being told to go and arm themselves and go and commit some sort of illegal act. People were so upset and so angry that they didn't even see that. They went right beyond that. And they just said, yes, I want my country back. I'm going to do whatever it takes. That is where the problem has started. And Labour knew that was where it was going to go. And they had very cunningly and shiftily and illegally, in my opinion, and I really want a judicial review on this, is that they used grounds of terrorism. And that... Yeah, but it wasn't applied liberally. It was only to white Brits. We're the only ones that were being, and that's another reason why people, certainly I would not be able to attend one of these rallies, because it will prejudice me. It will prejudice what I do, because we have to have a neutral ground so that people like me can come to these rallies and go, hold on a minute, this is legal, it's lawful, and I'm here to represent this area of the law. But we can't do that at the moment because they're too willy-nilly throwing everyone away for terrorism. You said, look, there was a guy in Manchester yesterday who burnt the Quran in in honor of Salwan Momika's execution, which, you know, was the most appalling thing I think I've ever heard of. And he got arrested on grounds of racial aggravation. Why? There are plenty of Bibles. There are synagogues being defaced. There are people saying, get the Jews out. There are a number of things happening. And that isn't racial aggravation. That is allowed. It's absolutely fine. Drape a St. George's flag around your neck. That is racial aggravation. Something's not right, is it? And the more we split on the right, the more problems we're going to have.
100%. Really great points. I mean, I've seen many English flag burned. I've seen many Union Jack flag burned. That's discriminating against a certain demographic. I just want to say hello to the Patriot designer, a good friend of mine, Sam. Looks after all my channel for me. He said it did seem like lower numbers than last time from watching, but still hugely outnumbered the left for sure, which I think we can all agree on there. So just going back to what Laura's just said there, it's absolutely crazy the way that when everybody was getting locked up, including myself, and I got told about this whilst I'm in a police cell. What Laura said is that they used a terrorist angle. They were locking people up for terrorism and using a specialist team to do that. So basically what it means is all the cases could not get heard, and stop me if I'm wrong, Laura, but all the cases could not be heard within a magistrate's court. They all got upgraded to Crown courts. So because of the sentences that they were able to give out at the Crown Court. So I was told this at the beginning, and I thought, shit, they're talking terrorism here. They're going to put me through a court which can give me more of a sentence. So instantly I'm thinking, shit, it's not going to be 1 to 3 years because they've upgraded it past that. And I think that's wrong. I think it shouldn't have happened. Am I right in what I said there, Laura, with regards to the...
You're 100% right. And this is why the numbers will have felt low yesterday, because people like me, I'm not going there to have a battle with the police who can throw me in jail last night. I'm just not going to do it. And that's not because I don't want to defend my country. That is because I do not want this government to be able to turn around and go, you see how many criminals we've got, how many terrorists we've got running around. It's so discriminatory on such a high level that we can't even protest that we're unhappy about the state of our country. This government is avoiding accountability. It's cancelling by-elections. It's not listening to us. It's introducing bills that they're not going through the correct processes. I'm not going to go into the whole ins and outs of it because it will be boring to all of you. But if any of you are familiar with Henry VIII powers, that secondary legislation that's delegated to people by Parliament, say you can go and make these kinds of changes to the law. They don't have scrutiny. They're just being thrown in under the radar and bang, you've got what you've just said. We want you locked up for terrorism. We want you this. They're emergency powers. They did it in COVID. And we have to change the law, because if we don't change the law, then all of us are guilty. But actually, we're not. We are being subjected to such treason in our own country where we should feel safe. Where even today, this morning, when I was doing a random job and two guys drove up in a car and they said they were looking for the sports ground, and I directed them and they said, oh, the nav said here. I said, yeah, that's fine, but it's over there, don't worry about it. And I put this notice out that we've got, that we're not the sports ground. And as he was driving off in a very rich, thick accent, so thank you so much, you're so beautiful, you're so this, and I said to him, can I just stop you there? We can't speak like that in this country anymore. It's intimidating. And that's where we've gotten to now, that we can be civil to each other, and that is literally where we can go. Because after that, you cross the line, because you don't know whether you're safe or you're not safe. And this is where the problem is, Mark. We have to change the law, and we've got to stick together. And if Reform say something that you don't like, ignore it. Are their policies the ones that you want? We can deal with the subtleties of what they're saying once we've got what we want as an agenda. The country have got what they want as an agenda. Then we can say, look, we don't feel this is right, or this. But at least you know you're not going to get put in prison if you do say, I think the grounds of conviction weren't right. Because Reform aren't going to lock you up for that. Or Nick Tony, or whoever it may be.
Yeah, this is the crying shame, and this is the situation that we're in. You're quite right that people are too afraid to have a voice, too afraid to say no, too afraid to take to the street, too afraid to post anything, and that's what they wanted, and that's what last year was all about: is to throw people in jail to suppress opinion, because a lot of it was just opinion. Let's face it, there were people that went too far with it, and I condemn them not only in court but after on this platform. People setting fires to bins and putting them in their hotels to burn things down. They're idiots, and they deserve everything that's coming to them. People that are actually saying, go to this hotel and do this, they deserve everything that's come to them. But there was a vast number of people that didn't do anything like that. I wasn't one that was calling anybody to arms. It was just my opinion on a lot of things. And you're quite right, Laura, that people are too scared. But we have to be in a position where people put their head above the parapet and actually come out and take part in these things. I understand where you're coming from, that the legal system needs to be changed, and it does, from top to bottom. We've got two-tier judiciary, we've got two-tier policing, and that's evident. Just a quick message from Sandra, who's listening in. Just bear with me.
Yeah, sorry.
A message from Sandra, who's listening in. Laura mentioned about them cancelling by-elections, and she said cancelling by-elections, is that even democratic? No, Sandra, it's not. But this is where we're at. Labour are doing everything they can to stay in power, and this is why I keep banging on every time I come on camera, every time I interview somebody. I always say we've got one opportunity, guys. We've got one opportunity to put this right at the next election, because if we don't, we're screwed. We are screwed, I believe. People might think different. Sorry, Ricky, what was you going to say, mate?
There is one organisation I'd like to pick up on that everyone seems to sort of forget about, and that's Hope Not Hate. Now, Nick Lowes. How come he hasn't been dragged over the hot coals for anything that he's put out or said? But the minute one of us open our mouths, we're in shit street.
Well, I mean, in regard to that, if I could just jump in, it's these organisations have been effectively patsies, haven't they? They've been running with the establishment for a long time, and they are given free dispensation to do whatever, pretty much whatever they like, and therefore the government's kind of stood behind that. They don't get, they're not the ones doing the dirty work, but Hope Not Hate are doing the doxing or doing whatever.
Aren't they? They're going out, they're reporting people, they're creating hoaxes because they did it on purpose so that they could keep everyone safe. It's just it's what Mark just said. We've got two-tier everything.
Yeah.
And
who's going to change it? Who will change it?
We have to. At the moment, the only people that are taking them to task because they're threatening legal action is Reform UK. That's where their priority lies. When we're canvassing, when we're campaigning, when we're out in the streets, we will say to people, if you're not happy with from your bin collection through to what's happening up in Downing Street, this is the only way that we can get our voice heard. So if you remember with what was the most recent one where they threatened a legal action? It was to have a national inquiry. And Labour were pushing it off and deflecting, and Prime Minister's questions, where I won't watch it because it would just infuriate me, but I've heard that in PMQs, when I read the summary, that Lindsay Hoyle doesn't allow anyone to say that Labour are misrepresenting or misinformation. You're not allowed to say that. Why? And secondly, that the PMQs, the questions are not being answered. Those two elements alone are against the ministerial code. The whole point of PMQs is so that the country gets answers.
Well, not only that, what I can't understand is that I mean, we can all say the Tories did a rubbish job for the last 14 years. But the fact is that everything they did try and put through, Labour stopped. And at the moment, Keir Starmer seems to be riding roughshod over absolutely everything. He's changing laws, he's giving money away with no accountability from anyone. The Tories are not getting up and speaking out. Like you say, if Reform try to speak out, they're getting shut down. No, you can't say that. How can this happen when for 14 years Labour have put a stop to anything the Tories have wanted to do?
Because twofold. Number one, as I keep saying on X, on Twitter, whatever it's called now, we've got a uni party. And the phrase that I keep trotting out, people are probably sick of seeing it, is on the uni party, there's a red bus or a blue bus. It will take you to the same destination. That's why they've worked collegiately.
Yeah.
If you watched the run up to the election, Angela Rayner and Penny Mordaunt having witchy fights like that with their fingers, and then as the lights went down, they were cuddling each other.
Yeah.
All on the same, they're all working to the same globalist agenda. And that's it, finished. Labour, why can they get away with it? Because we have to change the rules. I never realised the extent to which we gave them this awesome power to do whatever they wanted. And of course, Parliament is comprised of not only them, but the opposition, which, as we both said, is very, very weak. So why are they getting away with it? Because no one's stopping them. So the only people that's making a noise at the moment is Nigel Farage, because he can say we're going to launch we're going to launch a legal suit. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And Labour will push and push and push and push up to the line. And then when they realise that they can't, because Nigel's not the Tories, they can't just push it over, and they realise they're not going to get away with it, then they back down and go, well, all right, then we'll have enough. But this inquiry is the most downgraded. Sadiq Khan is going to be investigated by the Civil Hall. But he runs Civic Hall. The whole thing is
it's corrupt, isn't it? Yeah.
And corrupt, and I hate it. And it's not a case of us being too scared to come to these demos. That is not what this is about. I don't want to get locked away, because that's one less voice on the right that can start trying to make amends. We need to use all of us together.
Yeah. I'll just jump in, Mark, again, if I may, because I just feel like, it's a really important point, isn't it? I understand that there are people who are, who have that concern, and that's absolutely legitimate. And you've got to make decisions, haven't you, for, your particular where you're at in life and your families and all these things that we have to take into consideration. And it seems such a tragedy, that what we arrived at is that the state has effectively used its emergency measures to, if there's any terror, it's from them, to be perfectly frank, because what they're doing is using those sanctions to make people frightened, to make their own people frightened, and that to me is, has an element of terror to it. So, but the thing is, how do we get past that and have a place where we can all just in public make a noise together? And I mean, one of the things I'm kind of heartened by as well, that I just in the last day, I don't know if anyone else has followed it, is the Ben Habib, the Great British PAC thing that he's setting up, which is wanting to kind of like push. One of the things I think, from what I understand, is they want to kind of push the ability to speak freely in the right direction, that you can actually start talking about who we are, our culture, our history, our, being proud of who we are and not being terrified that puts us as, far right thugs and all the rest of it. And I think that's really connected to this, because protest is a form of speech, isn't it? Like if so many people like Laura did feel that they could come along and that there wasn't that threat hanging over them, how big would this march be? How loud would our voice be?
Massively.
It would be massive. It would be massive.
Yeah. I grew up always thinking that Tommy Robinson, because I'm just using this as an example, was this really like far right. He was a thug. He would, if he saw you and he didn't like you, he'd take you out. I mean, I grew up with terror about this man. And then I watched in June, was it his first one, where he did his first gathering? Literally watched it on screen because we had a court case going on that I had to prepare for, so I couldn't go that Saturday into town. And I was reduced to tears watching what he was doing for the country. I'm not a supporter of Tommy Robinson, as in, I've always followed him and I know what he does and doesn't do and whatever. But what I'm saying to you is that perception that had been fed down to make us afraid of, they're the BNP, they'll kill you. That, they'll do this, they'll do that, they'll hound you out the country. And it was then that the light bulb went on about how much divide and conquer has been going on in this country.
Yeah.
Do I agree with Tommy breaking his contempt of court? No, because as a legal person, I don't think you should break a contempt of court. I think what you should do is go and face down that contempt of court so that you've got the freedom of speech, or give it to your friends in America to put out for you so that the message is still getting out. So I wouldn't condone an illegal action, but what is becoming more and more clear is that contempt of court was not what you would imagine a contempt of court to be, because the trial had already taken place. Nobody was going to get hurt by Tommy saying, this is what I think, this is what I found, these are the people I've spoken to. It's just an opposition point of view. That's all it is. There's no credit to what Tommy's done because he can't credit it, because the courts have gone, we've read it, we've seen it, we've heard it, and it's a no. So it's through the courts that has to be challenged. What he's taken and done is his personal battle. And it's not right that we're using personalities to hit people over the head with. Do I think I would come to one of the rallies? Yes. If it was legal and safe, I would go, because I do not believe that we should be enduring this. I really don't believe we should be enduring this. Do I support breaking a contempt of court? No. Do I think the contempt of court was correct? I'm really struggling to understand why we have to silence people after a court case. Understand it before, because you can't jeopardize the court case. But after the court case is done, how are we still jeopardizing? And people on Twitter have sort of jumped on the bandwagon and gone, because this poor other guy is being persecuted and the courts found him not guilty. But then why is he being persecuted? He's been pronounced the victim by the court. Something doesn't stack up for me. It doesn't make any common sense. Yeah. You read the judgment in court, you come away and you go, I don't agree with what the judge said, or I do agree with what the judge said. That's the extent of it, no?
Yeah, 100%. Before you jump, I know Ruben was trying to jump in there, but I just need to catch up with the messages that we've got. Do my hosting bit to the best of my ability, Ruben.
Sorry, go for it, man.
I've got a few messages here. They're from Sandra, to be honest. And Sandra's first message was for Laura, and she basically says, Laura, that you're outspoken and you're an assertive woman. The assertiveness that Britain needs right now. So a lovely comment there. And another comment, we were talking about PMQs. Sandra says the PMQs are becoming useless. It's a shame, because other countries counted on Britain as the bedrock of justice and fairness and freedom. If reform are shut down and on every end, we are truly screwed and we are truly doomed. Listen, we are live. So if you're watching, there's over 300 of you. Please do leave us a message, and I'll do my best to read it out, get involved, because this is turning into quite an important chat, I think. Ruben.
Well, I can talk, so forgive me that. But just one point, and again, they're really, I think it's really important that we do talk about the contempt of court thing and all of that. I get it. I understand that people have their concerns on that. I think that one of the things I would say to counter it in some way, or just to add to it, is that, yes, it's personal. Yes, Tommy made his personal stand, equally, the identification that people on these rallies feel with Tommy is very, very strong. And that's for a reason, you know, because of the degree, the levels of betrayal involved in this crisis, really, in our country, and how Tommy has been willing to suffer for that, even to great personal cost. I think an awful lot of, I mean, everyone there just feels that whatever mistakes or slight, wrong turns he's made in life in many, in several different ways, as have I, by the way, that's not what people are concerned about, you know. Like, people, the identification is so strong because he is one of us, you know. And it's like, okay, so he's made mistakes and all the rest of it, but he's willing to get up and suffer. And I think, you know, he did, you know, you can argue, I get legally, you can argue, go and face the contempt of court thing. I understand that totally. And, you know, Tommy would be first to say that he's a very strident person. He makes his decisions, right? But it's like, I think he wanted to, you know, in a way, it's taking it on the chin because of how many people he feels he stands for in the gap.
Not only that, Ruben, I think
that's why I just finished, Connie. I just finished by saying it's like, that's when in a way it's more than just personal, and it's like, so there has been this, you know, disagreement because everybody feels like they're being tarred with the same brush. You know, that we're all with him in some sense in that way, you know. And so
we're all Tommy Robinsons, aren't we?
Both sides of it.
Yeah.
I can see both sides of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Connie?
I mean, part of Tommy's thinking to show in the video was because he never got over the fact that he felt he'd let those children down who he took to court. That was why he did it. I mean, he only has to talk about them and he tears up.
Yeah.
Because he really feels that he let them down, and that's why he wanted to get the truth out.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to stop what he's doing either. I think, like with me, when they put me, I was talking to Ruben about this yesterday, that I was quite outspoken, and that's probably what ended me up in trouble. But by putting me in jail and tagging me and doing everything that they did to me, it's just put a fire in my belly to be even louder. You know, I would never dream of attending a march before I was imprisoned. But I will go to as many as I can now, you know, and people have had enough. And I think this is where we are as a country at the moment. People are just done. I put a post out earlier, and somebody had sent me something from Scotland, Glasgow, what's going on in there. And the amount of private messages I've had of things that are going on with regards to immigrants and the children up there, it's blown my mind, to be honest. With what we are
It's the
going to
same
do.
as Ireland, isn't it?
Yeah,
Ireland's
Ireland's really bad as well. But the things that I'm being told is like, wow. And this is where we're at, and this is why I believe that we can't stay silent now. We are at this crossroads now. We're at this junction where we decide: do I just accept it, or do I stand up and do I fight it? And more people are waking up to what's actually going on in front of them. You know, the lies that are being told, the cover-ups that are happening, the corruptness of government, of the judiciary. And I personally believe that these marches are important. One of the questions that I got a lot after yesterday was, well, what did it achieve? What did it achieve? I won't say my response now, because I'm going to ask you guys the same question. Is the march happened? We had some guest speakers. It was a lovely day. It didn't rain until the end. But what actually did it achieve? What did it achieve in your opinion? I mean, I've responded to this online, and I will give you my opinion when you've all spoken. But what did it achieve? Is it worth the hassle? Is it worth the money? Is it worth us spending X amount to get to these rallies? Is it worth them spending, you know, to put these things on? Because it's not cheap. It costs them a lot of money to get a stage and to be able to get the stewards and everything else that happens. So I'll start with Ricky. What do you think it achieves?
I reckon a couple of things really, Mark. Morale, camaraderie, and also it's a way of, I know it's all been peaceful, but in in a peaceful but kind of angry way. It's a way of people venting their frustration rather than taking it to the violent side. Does that make sense?
Oh,
do you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
It gives that it gives them a voice, doesn't it? If you see what I'm saying, is what I'm trying to say. But it allows them to vent that frustration, whether it's talking amongst other people or they're still venting that frustration, aren't they? They're not getting and sitting there holding inside them, boiling away, making it worse, and then they go out and do something stupid. It gives it them. That's what it does for me, anyway.
Yeah,
you know, because I'm just pissed off just like everybody else. But when I go to these marches, I just feel like that's my bit now. That when I come away from there, I kind of feel a bit more chilled out. If you see what I mean.
Yeah, that's a good point, Connie.
I feel exactly the same as Ricky. I mean, today I was still so excited about yesterday, and I've had people phoning me up asking me how it went, and they're coming next time. You know, if every person, like last time, the first one I went to was October, and my two friends had been before, so now there was 3 of us. Yesterday there was 5 of us. The next one, my daughter and her boyfriend are coming. Got 3 other people coming, so that's an extra 10 people. So if everybody brings an extra few people with them, you know, we could have had 500,000 people there yesterday.
That's the kind of numbers I thought that may have been there yesterday. Stupidly.
I didn't think there would be that many yesterday. Yeah.
Ruben?
I would agree with everything that's been said there. Yeah, morale definitely, you know, to keep people's spirits up, and you know, to just vent whatever one needs to vent. But also, I think, like, I do think that ideas get shared, you know, so quite unexpectedly. You know, people will say things that kind of just sort of further the cause, really, by little conversations. So. I mean, in terms of venting and getting good ideas, like within 5 minutes of arriving there, I'm still talking to 2 guys, one from Leeds and one from Liverpool. And these are the first 2 people that I'm talking to. And the fella from Leeds had been stabbed up to 6 times by a member of a Muslim gang.
Wow.
Right. And this is one anecdote, but it's the first person I'm talking to.
Yeah.
You know. And he said he had to leave his hometown because he was too scared to be there, and he moved out, and he was trying to, you know, and if it hadn't been, by the way, for an Indian gentleman coming and pulling this guy off him, he would probably be dead. So this was far from a racist person. This person saying, thank God for the Indian fella. But that's what had happened to him. That's what happened to him, you know. And then the Liverpool guy was talking about how his daughter's being eyed up in certain situations in his street. And he's feeling extremely nervous about it, you know. So that's the first 2 people, you know. So in terms of venting and in terms of the sense of anger and betrayal,
Everyone's got a story, haven't they?
Everyone's got a story,
yeah.
and if these stories aren't heard and they aren't valued and they aren't responded to, then our country is a truly unjust place, because you know, this is the backbone of our nation. These are our people, you know.
And I think also it's the fact that Keir Starmer, it determined everyone as far right. Well, in your head, when you think of far right, you have an image. So when you see those people there yesterday, like you, me, all working class people, not thugs, not what he calls us.
Yeah. And I think also, and then just to go on to the ideas thing, just to finish up with that as well, pretty much in the same conversation, people started to talk about, what do we do? You know, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
And I heard it like 2 or 3 times, and it's definitely something that I believe in, which is that, you know, how many people do we all know in our communities who, for all this anger, are still sat at home voting, right?
Yeah.
How many people do we know who've been completely isolated from the whole democratic process?
I was very much like Laura because of my job. That's why my camera's not on at the moment. And when I went to the first rally, I was thinking, oh God, if anybody sees me here. But yesterday I went there with my head held high, and I just thought, I'm a patriot. I'm not causing any trouble. I'm not causing any bother. And I think that's what you've got to do. You've got to get more people there.
Sorry to jump in. Just one question that's fired across my head as you said that. What would you do if the police came up to you and went, could you step back, madam, or I'm putting you in the van?
It depends, I suppose. I mean, it depends whether I told you to step back to. If you couldn't step back, but I wouldn't argue with them, but I would stand my ground. I've done it before.
We when I was waiting yesterday with Justin, we had them come up to us and said, "You need to can you move around to the corner, please? You can't stand there." And we're literally just standing on the pavement.
Yeah.
So Justin's like, he's getting ready to go, and I'm just stood there, and I'm like, why do we have to move off the pavement? You know, we're
it's the same as what he was saying to Richard Inman. It's the aggression, isn't it?
It's
There's
like
no need for the aggression.
You put
I think that when if people can come together.
Ruben. They put us there. That's what the police had agreed with Richard Inman and Tommy's team. That's where they agreed to put us to start this rally. That's where it was. That's where they wanted us to be. Laura's quite right that they put you there for a reason, and that is to piss you off. Is to make everybody disgruntled. Is to hopefully get a flare up so that the BBC camera that was flying above can picture everybody smashing windows and stuff like that. It's all designed for that reason and that reason only. And we'll come back to that in a second about being labelled far right, because all I saw yesterday was a group of patriotic people coming together, talking nicely, speaking nicely. There was a few tits there, don't get me wrong, you know, that had a bit too much to drink. I mean, I was getting high as I was walking around, you know, off all the weed food. You know. By the time I'd finished, I got home and I was eating all sorts. You know?
And that's another reason why I definitely won't be joining.
Mark, honest to God, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wow, God, the police were everywhere. They just don't care. Let me just read a message. Sorry, mate. I just need you to read these messages.
Yeah.
Ignoring them. So let me just go to this one. So Luke here said, I think it was when I said that everybody's had enough. He says, spot on. That is the general feeling we all have. He's just had enough, to be honest. And Sandra again has said, we're all at the junction where the wheel of the ship is anti-white, anti-British government. Sandra's black, and she said it's plain to see. So a lot of messages like that. And we've got Carol who said she missed the first bit, so we can't really go back, Carol. This is live. So if you've got a question, then put it through in the comments, and I'll ask the guys that have got on anything you want to know. But we've got plenty of people watching now. So Laura, you was the only one that didn't answer the last part of that, which was what do they achieve? Do you think they achieved nothing? Do you think there's a better way for people to vent? Your opinion on it?
I think, what do I think? I think that from what I gather after these demonstrations have taken place is that people feel like they've come together and that they're working towards a common goal. And so it is uniting them. And this goes back to what I was saying when we first started this, is that we have to unite. It does not matter where on the right you are. You're not in favour of this government. This government is not doing its job, and therefore you obviously aren't left, because that's where that government is. Tories are finished. They're finished, and that's talking from someone who is ex-Conservative and who used to do some work for the Conservatives. And for me, the trust has gone. I think Suella Braverman is brilliant. I don't understand, you know, okay, she's trying to rebuild her party, whatever, but her husband is now part of Reform. I think that we need to unite, and it doesn't matter if you're like me and you just want to see the right person leading the country. And it's not a person, it's a party, it's a manifesto that needs to be stuck to. And I think actually Natalie on Twitter, Queen Natalie, or the Norfolk Lion, or whatever she is, she has said so many times that we need to, I've just lost my train of thought. She said that Oh, I've forgotten what I was going to say. I can't believe it. It's not the person, it's the party. And so if you like Rupert Lowe's manifesto, where he says that, you know, they're going to do X, Y, and Z, they've got to do it. Someone else has proposed that they get a 6-month probation. That might have been Natalie. And that if they don't do what's on their manifesto, that we can have another referendum or whatever it is. If it is UKIP and Nick Tenconi and he's the one who gets 10 million votes, then that's who we get behind. At the moment, Reform is the leader of the way because they've got the numbers, they've got the manifesto, and they've got the structure and the infrastructure to deliver this. I don't want to focus on the negatives of what if they don't. I just want to focus on what they will do. We do need to really curtail the powers of government because we are living in a tyrannical state at the moment. And the most important thing in all of this is only meritocracy. We have all got to become colorblind, characteristic blind, everything blind. It's just got to be the right, you know, are you a good person? Are you going to deliver? And that is it. And we need to unite behind that.
I agree with you, Laura, but I think Nigel, and I'm a member of Reform. I joined Reform. I went to see him when he was in Birmingham. I loved him for years. But the last few months, the way he's come out, and I said this on the last show I did remark, the way he's come out and slated Tommy at every given chance, I think he's really pissed off a lot of loyal Tommy supporters. And I think they will go to UKIP now. And I think that's where the vote that's where the vote will be split. And that's a shame because Nigel didn't have to do that.
Like we've just said, Connie, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm working for Reform. I canvass with them. I'm the interim branch secretary in my Reform group in London. What I would say to you is, if Nigel has said things that have irritated people, because we're all so heightened with emotion at the moment, what we should be doing is saying to him, we don't like what you said, can you explain it? That you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and Nigel's not exempt from being entitled to his opinion, just as Elon Musk isn't. You know, just because he objects doesn't mean he shouldn't have a voice. Everybody is equal, and the way that we should be policing ourselves and everything is without fear or favour.
I mean, I think it was when, to me as well, it was when Richard Tice called everybody that lot. It was no different to Keir Starmer calling us all far right. You know, and that's people can't get over that. We all refer to each other now as that lot.
I think that they should be given the right to redress and say, what do you mean when you say that lot? Because you want a second chance and I want a second chance and we all want a second chance. Then if we're vesting our favours with Reform, who are the people at the minute, and forgive me if I'm not wrong, but Nick Tenconi said that if at the next election Reform have got the majority, he will stand behind that because we can't divide the right. I'm not voting for Nigel. I'm voting for the Reform Party. That's who I'm voting for. And if Nigel says something that I don't like or I don't agree with, there's got to be a route there that we can go and question that. But just to without fear or favour, if Nigel has said something or Richard has said something that is not right, then they should be held to account the same way as we want Keir Starmer held to account. Well, it's got to just be the same rule for everybody.
Yeah,
I do understand that people are aggravated and upset, and ideally this should not be the case at the moment.
No, it shouldn't. I think that's the annoying thing. Like we said at the start, we all need to unite on this.
We need to unite, otherwise we are going to be forever on the red or the blue bus, and we're never going to get anywhere. And this situation is just going to get worse and worse and worse. And I think people who are now UKIP, I think they need to say, that's my party, that's where I want to pin my hopes, and that's fine. But I agree with Nick Tenconi, and if I have to vote Reform, because that is where that's where the agenda is going to happen, then we have to vote. They have to vote Reform as well, because because we're all the same people. We're just under different parties.
Yeah.
We need to unite because we all believe in the same thing.
You're both quite right, and you're right with what you say about Nick Tenconi, which I thought was a great thing that he said. Is come general election time, if we have an X amount of votes, but it looks like we're going to do anything at all, then he would step aside and he would inform everybody to go reform. And I thought,
I mean, that's admirable, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the leadership we want, really. Can we imagine Nigel doing that? I don't think so, but he doesn't need.
I don't know, because Nigel has dropped the odd thing. When I've heard him in, I've heard, I don't follow Nigel avidly. I obviously work for the party, but I work for the group within the party. Nigel has said time and time again, this is the People's Party, and if someone younger and better comes along, I'll step aside. And if this happens, then I'll do that. Do I think he will do it or won't do it? I don't want to have that question in my mind. I just want to believe him, because otherwise we're no better off than where we are exactly today. You've got to start somewhere.
The bottom line is Nigel doesn't need to do that anyway. I've said this time and time again on most of the podcasts that I do, that the only option we've got is reform. And I do think he's been a bit silly with alienating Tommy Robinson followers. I do, but at the same token, he stood by what he said, which I feel is a good sign of a leader as well. And
not weak.
Sorry,
he's not weak. He's
not weak. Yeah, and he didn't bow down. Elon Musk called him out over on X. He still kept to the same thing, which I think is strong, and I do think that. Do I think he said some silly things? Yes, I do. But the bottom line is this: everybody's quite right. We have to unite, because if we don't, we are screwed.
And we all believe in the same thing.
Yeah.
We may not believe in all of it. There may be bits of it that we don't like, but we're all believing the same thing, which is that we need to live in a good and a safe country.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have said to me, why don't you just pick up and go and live somewhere else? And my answer to them is this: I am a 4th generation immigrant family. So my great grandparents, I'm trying to work it out here, the math's not so good. They escaped the Holocaust. Not all of them did, but some of them did. I don't believe in religion because I think it divides people. I believe that we should all believe in a greater good, but we're all mankind. And I don't think there should be any divisions about who you are, what you are. We should all just live together. And I know that's very ideological, and I get that. But if I don't fight for this country, when they saved I wouldn't be here today if they hadn't saved my family 4 generations ago. So what right have I got to get up and not fight? So, and that's why I do what I do. Because once the war is won, and you know that you did everything you could to make it right, then you've done your bit, haven't you?
I think that's why we go to these rallies. Yeah. It's just a small part when I can think back. Well, we did our bit, regardless of how you've done it. It's like the other day. I mean, I'm cross with Nigel. I really am cross with Nigel. But I had an email asking me, doing a similar thing to what you're doing now. And I've emailed back and said, yeah, I'll be happy to help reform. And I think we've all got to just do our bit.
We've got to do it. We've got to do it. We don't have to like everyone, but we've got to do the right thing.
Yeah. I think that's what's done it for me, because I do really like Nigel. But also he's really pissed me off.
That's why you're so angry, because you like it. Yeah.
I'll just jump in at this point. Lukey has said he's asking for your X account, Laura. He's obviously likes what he's hearing. Carol, I want to go back to this one. Now, this is to do with the rally. So I've seen a few things about this, and I saw a guy. Can't remember his name, but he was having an interaction with Paul Thorpe on X earlier, and he didn't go to the rally because of certain reasons, but having watched the rally online, he was glad he didn't go because of this. And it's about Israel flags. Now, Carol's mentioned this now. She said, what were the Israel flags all about? There were a load of Israel flags at this march yesterday, They had a lady that got up to speak. She was the first speaker, which I thought was very powerful. She went through a lot at the hands of Hamas, and she came all the way over here to say, look, this is a fight that needs to be won, and you can win it. Look at me. That was the message that she got for it. But there seems to be an awful lot of discontent that there were Israel flags at this march. People saying that these marches should be about UK and UK only, and the only flags you should be seeing are Union Jacks and the St. George's Cross. What's your take on that? And I'll go to Ricky first because you've been a bit quiet, mate.
Well, I don't think that's right. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to unite everybody, not divide everybody. So that person that made that comment needs to belt up and maybe join the other side, perhaps. That's all I can say about it. That's what, do you know what I mean? I saw Australian flags there, Irish flags, Welsh flags, Canadian flags. What does he just want all them to go as well? I'm sorry, it's not going to happen, is it?
Well, again, you're playing into the hands of the
we've worked hard to build. We worked hard to build this united, and now by one comment, he wants to try and. I'm sorry, mate. You can do one, in my opinion, but that's my feeling on it. You know what I mean? Sorry. Next.
I think I don't think.
You know what I mean? You just can't. You can't reason with people like that, can you?
No, the guy that didn't go because of certain reasons, and then making comments about Israel flags, and so he's glad he didn't go because it should be about this, and the other. I mean, Carol's mentioned that. Well, yeah. I mean, I support Israel. I do support them defending themselves. Have they gone a bit far? Yes, and all of the above.
Mark, take it one step further. Does he not? Don't he want Wendell there either? In his Union Jack suit and his Union Jack sunglasses.
I don't know, mate. I don't know who the guy was. I mean,
you see him up on stage. His name's Wendell.
Yeah, I know who Wendell is. Yeah.
Does he not in one there either then?
No, probably. Well,
do you know what I mean?
He's at all of them, isn't he? Wendell, I think. He's definitely.
He's a legend. That Wendell's a legend.
I think it's falling for just another argument we can have in the sidelines here. You know, I do, and I think that exactly as Ricky says. You know, the point is that we want to have a kingdom that is united, and that you know everyone is welcome in that kingdom, provided that they want to sign up ultimately under the Union Jack, right? But it doesn't mean that we're not celebrating other cultures and allowing people to be, you know, to bring that to the party. The issue has always been, you know, where there's a particular group of people who don't appear to want to have that degree of integration in any way, shape, or form. That's the problem. But you know, certainly Israelis have never been, been part of that party. They've integrated extremely well. So, you know, it's just an argument that is not part of what we're doing. I don't think, you know, to get concerned about whether there's an Israeli flag or not.
I think you're always going to get somebody who doesn't like something. And if they don't like the Israeli flag, it could be manifold. It could be, like Mark said, you know, they have defended themselves. Did they go too far? Who knows? We're not in that situation. Well, we are actually, because we're being persecuted. So how far did we go to protect our families? But you've also got the problem that you've got a lot of what I used to call conspiracy theorists, and I won't use that anymore because they're not conspiracies. They've been founded on something somewhere along the line. But there are a lot of Zionists that do cause trouble. You've got a lot of people that are very angry with Bill Gates and his Myrna vaccine, and Bill Gates is Jewish, and George Soros gives Jews a bad name. And that is why when you see that flag, you automatically think, oh, well, Bill Gates and his COVID, or George Soros funding the WEF, or whatever it is that it is, or Greta, or whatever. So I think they're angry about the flag because of what they think it represents, rather than just look beneath it and who are the people holding the flag. Yeah. Because not all Jews, and as you know, I said to you, I was born into a Jewish family. I would never support any of those people. But it doesn't mean that I would turn my back on all Jews, because in every place in life, there's good and bad. But you're just going to get people, like you said, that just want to make a fight out of a fight.
Just for a bit of context, so the guy's name who was having that spat with Paul Thorpe, his name was David Curtin, Heritage Party. So that's who that was. So that makes a bit more sense to me now.
Yeah.
So that was that. And Carol's just reiterating what she said. It wasn't Israeli flags as such. That apparently there was a flag that was half and half with the Union Jack.
Oh, I saw that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What, if that was a meaning of anything other than
it's British Jews.
right?
It's
Yeah.
British Jews.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not that they're half and half. It's they're Jewish and they're British.
Yeah.
But we play, all of us, and this is one recommendation that if I get the role that I want to get, which is to become a SPAD for one of the political parties, there was an offer at Conservative, but I don't want to go there. Is basically that we pledge allegiance to the flag, to the British flag, because at the end of the day, we are all British. Whatever other beliefs we've got, that's fine. There's no problem. But we're British, and we are supporting Britain, and that's it. And that's the unity that we all need to have.
Amen.
Yeah, amen to that. Yesterday's rally, as the left have come out fighting today. They've been like pests on X. I think they were expecting something to happen yesterday, whether that be trouble, whether that be arrests, etc. When actually the only arrest that took place was on the counter marches side. I think 6 people got arrested, and there's a few clips going around of
didn't BBC News try to spin that as if it was on our side as well?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. No arrests from our side of things.
Yeah.
Where does this go from here, though? You got the left constantly trying to divide, and the mainstream media are part of that. You know, that I'm pretty sure they were waiting for yesterday's rally and expecting something juicy to happen. I think they tried their best, if I'm honest. I think the positioning of us was intended, as Laura said. I think the police tried their best to wind people up, including Richard. Didn't work. We're not far right. We are just right. But where do we go from here? Because I'm seeing a few comments as well, is that we keep having these rallies and we have all these gets-togethers. And the reason I ask you, what does it achieve, is because there's a lot of people that say, well, it achieves nothing. And unless we go a step further, then, you know, what I'm talking about here is we're right wing, yeah? I'm talking about people that are further right than what we are. And they're saying, look, it's doing nothing. It's achieving nothing. What needs to happen is this, and a much bigger response to what's going on.
What is this that needs to happen?
They're talking civil unrest. They're talking about taking to the streets. They're talking about...
What will that achieve?
Exactly. So this is the question I'm getting at. What?
Even if it did go that far, Mark, how on earth are we going to defend ourselves? What are we going to defend ourselves with?
You're not.
You know,
The only way you can defend yourself is by...
Yeah, but if it did go that far, we already know that there's arms and weapons being stored in places of worship. We already know that. So if it did kick off that far, what are we going to end up with? We haven't got any gun laws or anything like that over here, and that's another subject. But can you see what I'm saying? If it did kick off, what are the Joe public going to arm themselves with? What are they going to defend themselves with? Fists? When someone's coming at you with a machete? You ain't going to survive there.
You could arm yourself. You're just going to get arrested for terrorism.
Well, but that as well. Yeah, but if just saying what Mark said about the far right, if you see them, they want a civil unrest and things. Maybe they're armed up to the teeth, but the general population, I ain't got any weapons in my bloody house. So if I get my door kicked in by somebody, what am I going to, apart from my
not
fist?
only that, those people who are saying do that, they'll be telling
it's
other
not going to
people
work,
to
is
do
it?
it and be sitting in the house.
Yeah.
Connie's
got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's an awful lot of people that who are armchair warriors who are they're understandably angry, maybe, but not actually willing to do the hard graft of winning by being, on the higher moral ground, frankly, and that's what we're that's what we're going to do. This will win because we believe in things that are, in the end, far more decent than those who have corrupted our establishment, our institutions believe in. They just believe in power by any means, which is why they're exercising the judiciary or the police or whatever in ways that are unfair, because they only believe in maintaining power. Whereas we come from a heritage that believes in standing for your neighbor, in standing for fairness and justice, in having a mutual trust with your police and your judiciary and all the rest of it. These are all good principles, but they take a lot of time to win back because it has been corrupted, And so what choice do we have? We can go the short way, and we will just become public enemy number one, and we'll be wiped out, and we'll be living in a complete authoritarianism. Or we can win this the way that we know ultimately wins it, which will be doing it by the right ways.
That's the only way that you can win it, for two counts. Number one, because like you just said, you'll all be locked up and that'll be the end of the fight. And number two is that all we can do now is we can go down the political routes that are still available to us, which is petitions. Nigel's launched one. You should all be signing that, demanding by-elections. Why is that so important? Because then we have councillors in place.
Laura, can I ask you something with that? Because I was thinking about this earlier on. The Electoral Commission, who governs them? Are they independent, or is it the government?
Say that again.
The Electoral Commission.
The Electoral Commission, you mean, that sits inside Whitehall, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that part of the government, or are they independent?
I'd need to check that, but I would imagine they're meant to be. They are meant to be independent, meant to be. I really stress that, because so many things that I've looked at that are these independent inquiries, independent bodies, the separation of powers, where executive, legislature and judiciary don't, are distinct branches, and they're not. They're really, it's really murky. It's really murky. And I was
going to write to them, and I just thought, is there any,
The point of Nigel's petition, which I think it's not Nigel's petition, the reform petition. The reason why that will yield a result for us, what can we do, is if we've got councillors in place, we've got more voice, we've got more representation, and it's democratically recognised. So it's not so easy to sweep it away and go, oh yeah, well, we'll deal with that another time, because now we've got 101 representatives standing there going, no, my constituency does not want this, or my authority doesn't want this. So that is why it's so critically important, and it is one accountability that we can all sign up to, that is recognised and cannot be ignored. So by cancelling these by-elections, they're cancelling our voice. So we should be putting those energies into these petitions, getting these petitions up and running. So that is one thing that we can do on the back of what you're being asked. So what about yesterday? What can you do? You're uniting everybody. You are the focal vision that is uniting everybody and going, if you want to know what else we can do, this is another route we can go. And you won't get locked up for it.
Yeah, 100%. Skippy joined in there at the start, and he wasn't invited.
I thought he was Zebedee.
He wasn't invited to the chat. Just a couple more messages. Carol's really involved in this, so thanks, Carol, for your questions and your comments. Absolutely, real Jews should be protected. Netanyahu should be in prison, and leaders have been calling for him to be arrested for crimes against humanity. Carol's way, and let me just make one thing clear as well. I don't advocate at any time civil unrest. Ridiculous. However, I do have to ask these questions when I'm getting opinions from different people. Of that, some people will say that we're not doing enough and we need to start getting a bit heavy with what we're doing. I don't agree with that, and I think there are certain ways that we need to start doing. I do believe in marches. I do believe that they do send a clear message, as long as they stay peaceful and that they're done the right way. Carol said that people need to stop paying their taxes. People need to.
There is a problem when you stop paying your taxes, though, because there's a procedure you have to go through. You do have to go through a procedure. So let's say that they ignore this petition that Nigel's calling, and they do keep on cancelling the elections. Then the second route is, right, we've now had a petition heard democratically, you're denying our voice. Now we don't want to pay our taxes anymore. So that you can go down that route. You can't just stop paying your taxes.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know that, but that's fair enough. But these are the sort of routes that we do need to be taking. Is I mean, lots of people say go on strike, don't go to work, all that kind of thing. Would have a big impact. I mean, the farmers, they do protests. I think there's another big one coming from them soon, and I'm quite aware of other things that are going to be going on. I think as long as protests stay peaceful, I think they are valid. But we need to find another way to do it. And Laura's quite right. We do need to challenge the by-election thing. I think that's the council thing. That is massive. If they think that they can put a stop to that, just bear with me, Ricky. If they think they can put a stop to that, and there's no comeback on it, then we shouldn't be sitting back at that point and taking that. We need to be asking them why. We need to be petitioning, etc., etc. And another thing we need to be doing is talking to your local MPs, is getting involved, writing questions, sending letters of discontent, sending emails in place to people of these, because they have to act on it. Well, they should act on it. And
I've just sent an email actually to the head of Birmingham City Council, and I've said to him, when I get my council tax bill this year, I'll be paying last year's amount, because Keir Starmer pledged during the pre-election that he would not put up anyone's council tax this year. So I've said I will pay my council tax as of what it was last year, and I've said to John, you go back to Keir Starmer and ask him his position and tell him I'm not paying the extra.
Fantastic. I mean that's the sort of thing. Right. The amount of lies he told to get into power is
unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. That's not the point. You're not allowed to lie. And now you've got Lindsay Hoyle telling PMQs you mustn't accuse them of misrepresenting, and you mustn't. So what other recourse do we have? The only recourse we have at the moment, unless other parties are doing it as well, is to sign the petitions that Reform are putting together, which is they're protesting the farmers, they're protesting these council by-elections. That's our route, to keep on doing it legally.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Just a couple more messages. We've got Polly that's sent a message. She wants to know how she can follow Laura and Connie. What we'll do is we'll put their at in the comments afterwards. So if you have a look once this is ended, I'll put them in for you so you can follow them. We've got lots of fans today, Laura. Lukey's sent another message.
Voice of reason.
But it's a strong voice. It really is. So I'm really interested in what she's got to say. Lukey has emailed. Lukey's emailed again. No, he hasn't. He's put a message saying peaceful protests take time, and they are effective when combined with strategic political action, which might just be right now if the right decisions are made. Public pressure is essential. Many people will have watched that march yesterday and be planning on making sure that they are on the next one. Carol agrees that civil unrest isn't the answer. And yeah, we're all caught up. There's plenty of people watching now. So if you want to get involved, I don't want to keep these guys all night long. It's Sunday evening. But
do any of you think Keir Starmer actually watched the march yesterday?
I think he would be aware of it, and I'm pretty sure he would have one of his minions looking at it, just to see if it kicked off more than anything. I would have thought.
Oh yeah.
Rubbing his hands in glee. He'd been sending the special task force out.
Yeah.
How many child catchers can I get out?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'd be sending the army in. Did anybody see any kind of coverage from mainstream media of the rally yesterday?
To be honest, I don't watch mainstream media.
Yeah, I know, but there's always you can always I've seen nothing. It's not
No,
like I'm
I
going
haven't.
on the church. I don't think they covered it.
I haven't
at all.
seen anything either way.
I think the only person, or the only,
Not to cover it. I thought that they were given very strict. I'm hearing little leaks from police that have been told not to say anything, and mainstream journalists not allowed to say anything. I'm sure Katie Hopkins has put a whole thing up about how much they're allowed to say and what they're not allowed to say.
I'm fairly sure that, I'm fairly sure that I don't know that that's true, but it looks from the evidence that that's true. I don't know whether I didn't see Katie's thing, but
someone posted up something yesterday. I'm not sure whether it was David Atherton.
Yeah.
Who said he'd been speaking to someone, sort of a second-hand conversation, someone with a policeman who said, "What's this march?" And he said, "Oh, what's happening here?" And he said, "Oh, it's a far-right rally."
Yeah.
Yes, it was Dave Atherton.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it was David Atherton. Yeah, I just saw that this morning as well.
Yesterday, soon as I got off the train yesterday at Victoria, because I came in at Victoria, when I come off the train, when I come outside Victoria, you didn't see any flags or anything like that. So as soon as I come out of Victoria, I went into Starbucks, got a coffee, walked back out, met up with somebody I knew. Me and him started walking up the road, drinking a coffee, get collared by the old Bill. Excuse me, where are you going? What? What's it got to do with you? He said, "You come here for the rally." I went, "What's it got to do with you? I haven't got to tell you anything." He said, "Well, you have come for the rally, haven't you?" I said, "I'm not telling you anything. I haven't got to tell you anything." And I started walking off. He's chasing me up the road. "I haven't finished with you yet." And I said, "Well, I've finished with you. I haven't got to tell you anything. I'm drinking my coffee, walking up the road. See you later." And me and my mate just walked off. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Polly sent another message in saying the rallies show that the left, the elite, that we're peaceful, we're decent, we're inclusive people. They don't like it up 'em. Rallies are all around the country would be great, and that's a point that I wanted to make as well. It's all very well, London's the capital, and it's great. They should be doing these up and down the country, in the Midlands, up north, all over, to be honest. And you'll get probably a lot more people attending. Probably not so much at the big one, because they'll be going in different places. But people travel from quite far to get to the. I mean, Ruben, you came how long was yesterday?
It was a 4.5, 5 hours. Yeah, either way. So it was a big day. It was a big day.
So do you think it makes sense having similar in different places?
I do. There's an event in Swansea in a couple of weeks on Valentine's Day, I think it is. So I think things should be happening locally. I was remembering who was it, the bunch in during the fun we had a few years back, who used to appear on little public squares everywhere, get people together locally just to sort of stand in defiance of the lockdowns and all that. I can't remember what they would call themselves, but there were people who were doing all sorts of things with that. And in a way, I feel like we're in a not dissimilar position now. That wouldn't it be nice if there were just little groups of patriots waving the flag and just basically hanging out together?
I think
singing a few songs or whatever, but hanging out together on every street corner.
Like the Reform. They were having the local parties, the small town ones. That we should be doing the same with the Patriot movement.
Yeah.
Laura?
No, I agree with all of that. I do. I think you should have these. I call them road shows, which is probably not the right name, but I do think you should have them, because again, it talks to inclusivity. Because otherwise, everyone's going, "I've got to come down to London." I live in London. It's not where everything has to happen. The time that we want to go and sit in College Green and put our posters up is when we want government to see us, hear us. The last one I went to was arranged by Tracy Ann Oberman, and it was about getting Jeremy Corbyn out of office. It was just before Boris came in. And it was all about Jeremy Corbyn's anti-Semitism. And so basically that was right to happen in London, because we wanted the whole of Westminster to take note of it. But to rally and get people's morale up you need to have them in the areas where they are residing, so that they feel included in that, and they don't have to take a 5-hour route, you know, a 5-hour trip to come and be heard. So it's lovely that it does take place in London, but I do think we need to have these events that Connie was suggesting. I really think that will work.
And you're the same opinion, Ricky, I take it?
Yeah, I am. But the only thing that worries me about these little rallies and local rallies, are they going to be organised to the way that yesterday was? If you see what I mean.
I said that this morning to my daughter.
Because my concern is that tiny little bit of moral high ground that we've got at the minute, that we've taken years and years and years to get hold of. It's only a little bit. Yeah. If you go to local rallies, are they going to be policed or securityed in the way that yesterday? If you get
the wrong people in there, then it tires.
And if there is any trouble, we could potentially lose that little bit of moral high ground that we've taken years and years. That's the only thing that I'm concerned about. But I'm all up for it. But that's my worry with that with local rallies.
Can you not get the same organisers to help to organise mini events?
Well, that's probably something you'll have to have a word with Tommy's team about, or Richard Inman, or Danny, or Paul. Probably you'll probably have to have a word with one of them, and they might be able to point you in the right direction and advise you on a few bits and pieces as well. But yeah, that was my only concern with it, is that tiny little bit of moral high ground that we've got at the minute. I'm just worried about losing that.
Connie?
No, I'm just saying really the same as Ricky, that, you know, I said to my daughter today, because she said, why don't they have them in Birmingham? I said, the thing is, I said, obviously you need your security, you need your police. I said, you only need a couple of real far right people to come and cause trouble, and then that tires the whole movement.
Yeah.
You know, everybody over gets tired.
Yeah, I think it would open itself up to a bit of trouble, to be honest.
It's a good idea, but it's opening up a can of worms, isn't it?
Yeah, possibly. But if these rallies are going to be done under the guise or under the banner of Tommy Robinson, then their people would have to be involved, and I'm pretty sure they wouldn't want, you know, their name tarnished. I mean, you look at the people that are out on the streets yesterday for Tommy. Now, like him or loathe him, I like him. You know, he's got a lot of support. He's got a lot of people that adore him and thank him for what he's done, for opening people's eyes about certain things. And I'm one of those people. They've worked hard to get this kind of support, because his support has grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. You know, but that could all be undone quite quickly by putting these rallies here, there, and everywhere, and not being policed or stewarded properly, etc. And it could all be just gone in a matter of minutes.
Well, that's what they're waiting for, isn't it? They're just waiting for that.
Every time there's a rally, Connie, that's what they're waiting for. Is to, and I'm certain that, you know, police have orders to maybe, you know, wind a few people up and things like that. I'm certain of that. Polly said that's a good point, Ricky. I think that's when you were talking about the policing of the event. Rex has joined the conversation, said free Tommy. And Carol asks, who funded the rally yesterday? Now, it was Tommy's team. I know that they fundraise for these events. If you're part of Urban Scoop and part of Tommy's following, and you get an email and you can donate to these kind of things, but ultimately a lot of it comes from their coffers. So I don't know exactly how much it costs, but I know what they were trying to raise. It's not for me to say, but they cost a lot of money to put these on. Hence why it's one or two a year, because it takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of money. And the next one will likely involve Tommy himself. So that one will be absolutely massive.
I do think the speakers are changing as well. I mean, they're having some good speakers. And Paul Thorpe said this morning that they expected a big name politician to be attending yesterday. Yeah. But he pulled out at the last minute. So I don't know who that was.
Well, it wouldn't be Nigel Farage.
No.
Could possibly be Lee Anderson.
Possibly.
Lee is very, very outspoken, isn't he?
Yeah.
I saw his opening speech in one of the reform things where he said he was going to go for a knighthood, and all he had to do was trash London, commit crimes, take Ashfield down the murderous route, and he would get. But I was just thinking, if you wanted to raise the morale of people that, you know, and they didn't want to come to London, and you didn't want to go to the huge expense, you could get a speaker to put something on more locally, where there's less people, where it wouldn't cost as much, where you wouldn't have the cost of policing as much. And rather than get Urban Scoop to do it, it could be done by Patriots of Britain, and they could be supporting, some support Tommy Robinson, some support Reform, some are UKIP, but we all support being right and re-establishing our country with boundaries. So you could do a halfway house there, so that people are able to attend, because it's not too far from their home.
Yeah, it's not under any one umbrella. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you don't have the problem, as Ricky was saying, of besmirching anyone's reputation, and you don't have as many problems that people are going to start beating each other up or whatever. Do you think any plants get put into these crowds? I always wonder how many of them are plants. You know, they come along and they pretend that they're whatever, but they're not. They're really working for Labour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're quite right.
Yeah.
Right, we've been going for an hour and a half, so we'll wrap it up. I know it's gone quick. I just looked at the time. I thought we're probably about 45 minutes, but we're not. It's been going an hour and a half. So I've got to get away anyway. But what we're going to do is we'll just have some like closing thoughts. Probably tell us what you think. You know, your hopes are moving forward. For me personally, I'm waiting now for the next rally. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing on here, and doing interviews I think people are going to be interested in, raising awareness and bringing up issues. One thing that I am getting now, which is nice, and I like it, is that people are sending me stuff that are happening in their areas, for maybe me to shine a light on it. So I'm going to be doing that. I've got a few things on the go at the moment. You're all great talkers, so I'd love to speak to you again at some point. Laura, you've been amazing tonight. I'm really glad that you've joined us. But Ruben, just to sum it up really from you, you know, thoughts from yesterday and what you think moving forward. What's your closing thought, mate?
I still think there's a very strong place for our coming together, and especially in the capital city. And I think that functions on a number of different ways. It's obviously for all of us involved to keep our morale up. And I do hope and pray that, you know, that those people who are on the edge, who are going to take a risk to say, yeah, I'm going to stand with these people, that they'll take that risk, you know, and we've got to provide the opportunity where that's able to happen. But it also functions with the people on the sides, you know, watching the march, because let's not forget there has been decades of indoctrination in this country, sometimes quite subtle and sometimes quite overt. And there are many people stood on those pavements thinking that they're literally about to meet a bunch of, you know, Uber Gruppenführers. You know, they're literally terrified. They see a Union Jack and they think, oh no, you know, here come these nasty people. What do they meet? They meet grandmothers, grandfathers, mums and dads, you know, who are having a sing song and sharing a good time together. So it's functioning to like witness to those people. It's really, really important that they see we're just salt of the earth British people who just still want to, you know, stand up for what's right and good and true about our culture. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, I'm also really grateful. I'm grateful to Laura setting the tone and everybody, you know, everybody reciprocating really to say, look, we do have to have unity, however it happens. We have to have unity, but it has to function really from all sides. So those politicians on the edge who are saying, okay, maybe I'll stand with Unite the Kingdom, please do it, take that risk. And those of us who are, you know, firmly wanting to stand by Tommy and really believe in redemption, apart from anything, believe that people can grow and become, you know, amazing people in the course of life, and we're standing by him because he stands by us. You know, hopefully people can see that that's who we are. That's what we're about. We're about good stuff. We're not about aggression and violence, and we don't want to go in that direction at all, ever.
Those that are I need to say this as a Christian, those who have faith. I do think we need to get back to being a Christian country. We need to start getting back to Christian values, whether you're a Christian or not. If I'm honest, live by those values. Christianity is missing from schools. We just need to get back to having some kind of identity, and I think we've lost that as well. So, Laura, one of the big things that's come out of this podcast is unity and the message that we need to be united. Is that what you think as well?
100 million%. The way forward for all of us is to be united, and we can be united because our goal is to promote and be British. Everything else that defines us, that we believe in, nobody's asking us not to believe in that. But our main goal is that we are all British, and we all want this country to prosper and be the Great Britain that it always could be. And it really irritates me when we're not allowed to fly our flag, when our children aren't singing Christmas carols at Christmas. I don't want a merry nativity play with lobsters. You know, if they want to put that in as well, that's fine. But I actually want my kids to be able to dress up and to be able to recreate the nativity thing, because that is what Christmas is. And having pretty trees with lights, and, you know, I'm so sick of seeing everything celebrated except British things. And this is the agenda, is to sideline us and to make everything else, it's not multicultural, it's anti-British. That's the message. You're not allowed to be British. If you're white, be ashamed of yourself. You colonized the entire empire, whatever. And we're being held to account for something that somebody did 500-600 years ago. It is absolute sheer madness. It's madness. And all these ideologies and woke and diversity and whatever, we don't need them, because a good human accepts other good humans. We don't need to be told that we've got to pay special attention if someone is challenged in their ability. Maybe that's, you know, bodily, cerebrally, whatever. We know that we've got to do that because we're good humans. So let's just go back to being British.
Thanks, Laura. Connie, have you got anything? Yeah, that's all of that rings true for me as well. The woke thing's got to stop. We need to celebrate our traditions and not appease other demographics. Connie?
From yesterday, I would say that despite all what we was there for, the Tommy and what the government are doing, we've all still got a sense of humour, and we can have a good time while we're protesting or marching, you know. And I think you look at the left, all they do is go around screaming and shouting, and it was brilliant yesterday. And YMCA, when that come on, you know, it was absolutely brilliant. So it's about enjoying yourself while you get things how you want.
Thanks, Connie. Ricky, you get the last word, mate.
Well,
you don't
just
actually, are
you? Just let's on that little bit of moral high ground we got, let's try and build on that and make it stronger and bigger each time, because it is getting bigger and bigger each time. And I think we need just to build on that. And another thing I think we should do is on VE Day, why don't we close down the streets and our street party celebrates VE Day anymore? That's part of our culture, part of our history.
Yeah, great idea.
But going back to Tommy Robinson's rally yesterday, Tommy Robinson probably wouldn't have even existed if the government had done their job properly. So essentially what the government have done, they've created millions and millions and millions of Tommy Robinsons. That's what they've done at the end of the day, because we're all Tommy Robinsons. Yeah. You know, we all say the same thing as what pretty much Tommy Robinson does. But he's our man, and he's our foreman. He's the man. He's our lead singer, and we need to help him and get him out of that shithole. Yeah. And get him right back where he belongs, with his parents and kids and wife. That's all I'm going to say.
Here, mate. Just a couple of quick messages. Lukey said, great discussion tonight, and thank you. Polly, thank you for everyone. This was excellent. And Carol, who's sent quite a few messages. Thanks, Carol, for that. She said, thanks for the invite, Mark. I didn't realise you wanted to come, Carol. But if you next time, let me know, and I'll send you an invite. and we'll get you on. So listen, everybody, thank you for this. I really do appreciate your time. Ruben and Ricky and Connie have done it before, so you are now record holders on the podcast. Laura, you've been amazing tonight, to be honest. I've really appreciated having you on. I would love to have you all on again. I'd love this to be more and more people each time, and to create a bigger debate. But from me and from this rabble, thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers, everybody.